I've made a huge mistake. Yesterday, the Val Nerd, one of our notification squad members, asked a question using the hashtag #ICaveAnswers, and I said that I'd answer it in detail tomorrow, not realising that it was Friday. I don't make videos on a Saturday, so I guess we're getting a Saturday video. Sorry guys.
This is Living on iPad with David Eden Sangwell.
I'm David for Living on iPad, and I simplify Apple so that everything just works for you. If you want the latest Apple news, leaks and rumours every weekday at 12 UTC, plus other shows sprinkled in as and when I can, like the video, subscribe and ring the bell so that you don't miss a thing. So the Val Nerd asked, in a previous video you talked about how using Apple Silicon Macs and MacBooks, you also said that their price will drop. You have an example with the Mac Mini from $799 to $499. Is it actually that big of a price drop, including with other Apple Silicon products? This question started quite the discussion in the comments, and I just wanted to say how great the comments are on my videos. The guys in my comment section are always 99% of the time respectful. There's obviously the occasional person that comes in that's not part of the community as much, but just wanted to thank you all for being an awesome community. The premise for this is that Apple Silicon, when the first rumours came out about it, we're looking at potentially a $799 MacBook based on the old 12-inch chassis that Apple discontinued a little while ago, using an A14 or A14X chip, 15 to 20 hours of battery life. Even a little tech channel by a guy called Linus Sebastian, you should check him out, he really deserves some support, he's trying really hard over there. He thinks it's a really good idea, and he doesn't even like Apple that much. So there are a few reasons that I think it would be a really good idea for Apple to offer Macs at lower costs, and I do think that Apple Silicon gives them the opportunity to actually do this for the first time in a really long time. Just to be completely clear, this video is based on speculation and extrapolating from what Apple has done in the past, and also kind of looking at some of the products they've got now and how you could modify them into a wicked Apple Silicon system. Let's start speculating. Talking about the Mac Mini, as mentioned above, I really do think that Apple could make a very affordable system using this, bringing it back to an entry-level price point, which is $500 or less, perhaps under the name of the Mac Mini SE. One of our most knowledgeable followers, Clyde, I'm not going to ruin your second name again, pointed out that the price hike in 2018, where the base cost increase from $499 to $799 was down to a number of factors and not just the Intel pricing. So it was the Intel chip pricing, paying Intel for Thunderbolt III port licensing, which apparently is quite expensive, SSD pricing being a lot more expensive than traditional spinning media, the T2 chip that goes in there, which controls a bunch of stuff that we'll come on to, and also the space grey colouring being a premium option. All really good points, and I really appreciate the information that he was sharing, but I think some of these things have actually been addressed already and could be addressed by the SE moniker. So Intel pricing is of course something that is very, very quickly addressed. They won't be using it. They won't be using Intel chips. With Apple Silicon, they will be using Apple Silicon's potentially A14 chip, which, if that's what they choose, the scale of production that they already have for the iPhone 12 line and the iPad Air means that really the economies of scale kick in for this. We've already benchmarked the A14 and it's comparable in performance to a 2019, so last year's MacBook Pro 13-inch with an i7 quad-core processor. That's absolutely fine performance, thank you very much. The MacBook Pro 13-inch would have had the Intel graphics built in, the Intel Iris graphics, which the Apple Silicon absolutely destroys. That was scoring about 8,000 versus 12,500 for the Apple Silicon. So potentially we don't even need an external GPU for this. To save even more money, Apple could use worse binned A14 chips than they use for their iPhones and iPads, especially if the issues are with the low power, high efficiency cores, because you're going to have this plugged into the mains all the time. You can actually use those higher powered cores a bit more of the time. Thunderbolt 3. So the Thunderbolt 3 ports that got mentioned as of the 4th of March 2019, so after the Mac Mini was released, is now royalty free, and it's being rolled into the USB 4 standard with 40 gigabits per second of throughput and backwards compatibility with USB 3 and USB 2. That eliminates another cost. SSD pricing has also come down drastically in recent years, but with an SE model, Apple could easily enough offer a very low storage option, maybe 128 gigs to start with, and because you're going to have that USB 4 connectivity at the back, probably with 4 of those ports, you're going to have space to expand your storage if you need to. Admittedly, you're going to have one of those ports is going to be taken up for power, one for display, unless you can combine those two. That would be really cool. and then you're going to have a couple of extra ports left over at the back. Now you can daisy chain stuff with Thunderbolt, no problems, but yeah, you're going to have a couple of ports available. Now, T2 chip, another thing that was brought up in the thread. So T2 chips are added to Intel Macs at the moment because they use Intel. It's based on the A10 chip, and it provides the secure enclave for encrypted keys, for camera and audio processing, does on-the-fly encryption and decryption from the SSD, image signal processing for the FaceTime cameras of iMacs and MacBooks, plus it enables Hey Siri. Sorry, everyone, I've started everything off.
It's all good.
Cheers, Siri. All of these things the A14 could do quite happily without a T2 chip as its sidekick. So to go back to the idea that if the iPad Air with A14 can be sold for $599, take away the screen, which iFixit replacements run you $425 right now for the iPad Pro 11-inch screen, which is the closest I could find for context. Let's assume that Apple pays less than half of that, so maybe $200. That's a big old saving. With its touch layer and the battery, you can throw that away as well. The Mac Mini SE, if they decided to call it that, should easily be able to hit that $499 pricing. But why would Apple want to hit $499 as opposed to the $799 that they're currently charging for a Mac Mini? Here's why they should. Yesterday, Apple launched Apple One. Apple services revenue grew ahead of expectations in the last quarter. Right now, they make a gross margin of about 37% on hardware, which is like massively industry leading, and also 67% margin on their services, because as you get more and more people into your services, the cost associated with the service doesn't scale. It's more about the R&D, getting it set up in the first place. Yes, there's extra server space. Yes, there's all of that sort of stuff that gets added in. And with Apple Fitness Plus, they are going to have the cost of bringing people in, filming it, post-production, all that sort of thing. But that is minimal compared to what they will be making through Apple One. So Apple is definitely going to want to get more people stuck into the Apple ecosystem, and bringing people in from an iPhone and an iPad who love that to a Mac that they will also probably love is a really great way of doing that. Also, Apple needs quick wins for Apple Silicon to bring up their install base, show developers that it's worth bringing their Intel apps over from Intel to Apple Silicon if they haven't already, and also to attract new developers that are going to bring new software to the Apple platforms. A Mac Mini SE would be a super easy way to quickly grow that install base and potentially overtake some manufacturers that are currently making Intel Windows PCs. I know that I'd be picking one up the first day that they arrived. A little bonus, they should definitely throw MagSafe onto the top of it, so charging the new generation of Magic Mouse would also charge through MagSafe rather than that stupid lightning cable into the bottom of it. So you just throw it on there at night, you know, you come back to it ready and fully charged, just like you do with your Apple Pencil. You could also then charge your AirPods or your iPhone while you're at the desk, and maybe it could even be a quicker way for pairing your phone for AirDrop or someone else's phone for AirDrop by using the NFC chips that are inside. It's one of those nice little things that Apple just does better than everyone else. What do you think? Would you pick one up? Or what Apple Silicon Mac are you waiting for? Do you definitely need a notebook, or would you be interested in a desktop too? Let me know down in the comments. Thank you for watching. I will try my best not to encumber you with Saturday videos from now on.